welcome to Beach Theory. Hi. Today we are going to be talking about health and healthy eating and our theories and philosophies and educational experiences around eating healthy.
And what we do.
And why we do what we do.
But first I want to talk about our childhoods and how differently we were raised, and in a lot of ways, how we've had to cope since being married. Because it's really been more about coping in a lot of ways and figuring out compromises with eating. So, like, I grew up in a house we had 9 kids, and, like, we just ate really whatever we wanted. I say that, but...
That was available to you?
It was what was available to us.
Yeah.
My mom and dad... My mom would make things from scratch most of the time because it was cheaper than burritos or corn dogs or, like, you know, packaged foods. But I often remember, like, for birthdays or for parties, like, we were just allowed to gorge ourselves on junk food, and, like, holidays, anything. It was just like, we got to eat whatever candy we wanted, and it was just so much fun. And I love it. I even love my memories from then. Like, and like at dinner, I never thought I was picky. Like, I never thought I was a picky eater until I went to my cousin's house one day and I did not want to eat green beans. Like, I was like, no, I'll never eat green beans. I never want to do that. And my aunt was like, you have to eat these. I'm not giving you any other food. And I was like staying there for a week. So I was like, ah! I was so mad.
I'm pretty sure you've done that to your nieces.
Yes, I have. I learned from my aunt. Anyways.
Good.
Yeah. But they were like, you have to eat this. And I was like, no. And they were like, have you ever even tried it? And I was like, no. And it's true. I was never forced to. I think it was because, you know, my mom had enough other kids to worry about. She really took on the mindset of, you'll eat if you're hungry. And if you're not hungry, that's your own fault. Or if you are hungry and you didn't get the food that I gave you, or you ate lots of whatever, like, it was just very relaxed, honestly. And I never really remember, like, going to bed hungry or, like, she took care of us.
With your family, it seems like dinner is almost a buffet. Is that how it was growing up, too?
Yeah, except for we all would sit at the dinner table.
But the point is...
almost every night.
There's so many options that you can pick and choose multiple things without touching half of the meal.
Totally.
Is that how it was growing up, too?
And nothing was said about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was how it always was.
Yeah.
Because in my family, it was like, we made specific things, 2 or 3 things. Everybody gets a little bit of everything. And
would somebody dish it up to make sure that happened?
For the little kids, yes.
Okay. But
the older kids, like, get some vegetables on your plate. You know, that was always the thing at my family. You know, more so when I was a little older, but that was usually the thing was, like, we've got a main dish and then we've got 2 or 3 little sides, but everybody had a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
you had to.
I mean, I think there were definitely times where my dad was like, you better eat that, you know, or like my mom was like, no, you're eating that or you're not getting anything else, you know, like, but it wasn't like strictly enforced at every meal. It was just kind of like, in fact, Sunday dinners were my favorite because usually my mom would have lots of different things and always have a vegetable. Like, she was very good at that.
But
she's like, we need a vegetable, we need a fruit, but like, there was also Jell-O and like dessert for meal, you know, like it was just, and like meat, and I don't know, she's always been really good at making food, and it's always been too good because then, you know. anyways I didn't think really much of the way I was raised and like what I was allowed to eat, what I wasn't allowed to eat until I met Michael. And then I was like, holy cow, we are vastly different in that way. Like, so different. I remember when we were engaged, here I am at my own apartment in college, living outside of the house. And I had made spaghetti and we were both eating spaghetti. And like, when I was done, I just threw away the part that I didn't eat. Like it wasn't a very big deal. That was another thing that my family would do. Like we would just scrape the plates, throw it in the trash, and then be done. Like, because if we put it in the fridge, we would have like 10 different plates that didn't get finished because all the kids would put way too much food on their plate, you know, unless it was like a lot. And then my mom would be like, hey, put that in the fridge and save it for tomorrow and you better eat it. But if it wasn't that much, like half a plate, I would just, you know, toss it. So anyways, we were engaged at my apartment having dinner, and it was spaghetti. And when I was done, I just threw it in the garbage, and he literally lost it. You got so mad at me. You were like, what are you doing? And I was like, what? I was so like, what?
Perception versus reality.
That's how I felt. And he's like, why are you throwing it away? I was like, because I'm done. Like, what do you mean? I was just like so blown away at the difference. He's like, save it. Don't let any of it go to waste. I was like, what? Like, it's not that big of a deal, you know? And he was just like, yeah, it is a big deal. Don't let any of it go to waste. We'd never let anything go to waste at our house. Like, everybody would eat it. It would make sure, like, we would eat that before we got to eat anything else. It was just not, like, my parents would never waste anything. And I was like, fine. Like, it really shook me. Because I remember it so vividly now. Yeah. I remember watching home videos. I've watched a home video since of, it was a birthday party, and like we were allowed to eat as much cake and ice cream as we possibly wanted until our bellies were full. And then we were just like, okay, we're done. Like, I understand everybody has different ways of eating, right? Like, it's not something that everybody does the same. And so in some ways that I'm talking right now, it might be like, oh, I do that, or that's not that big of a deal. But now let's hear what Michael would do in his family.
And
it changed in his family. I have to say this because it was one way, and then his mom actually broke her back.
So are you going to tell it, or am I going to tell it?
And then everything changed. But I just wanted to say that one little thing.
I was already going to say that. You just want to talk all the talking, I guess.
Well, the last episode you did all the talking.
That was the format.
Go ahead.
So I remember a time in my family where my mom would buy donuts or, you know, cake or whatever junk at the store. And we'd always try to eat veggies or something with dinner. But it was usually just like, open a can of green beans, pour it out on the plates so everybody could have some fresh out the can.
Not very appetizing.
We didn't put any seasoning on it. We didn't warm it up. We didn't do anything to it. It was just straight out the can. And that was my only experience, you know.
And he didn't like vegetables. And I wonder why. Because in my family, I loved vegetables. Later on. It was after the green bean incident when I was 7. But like green beans now, or when I was like a teenager, it was like you put a can of green beans in the microwave. And you warm it up in a beautiful bowl. Then you make sure all the water's drained out so it's not like watering down the butter. You put some butter on it, let it melt, and it's like all buttery and it smells so good. And then you put a little bit of salt and some pepper on it, mix it up, and then you eat it. Way better than cold can of green beans.
Thanks to Becca's upbringing, she is a very good cook. She's always making
you can thank my mom.
Really good food. But I do remember right about the time I became a teenager, my mom got in a car accident and broke a couple bones in her back. And she started like physical therapy, trying to eat healthier.
By the way,
trying to recover.
I'd never heard of anybody breaking their back and not like being paralyzed.
It was a miracle.
Yeah.
Because the doctors, when they took the x-ray, they said, wait a minute.
I mean,
these bones are broken, but every single time these bones are broken, these ones are also broken. And for some reason on you, they're not. Just these ones. And so it ultimately made it possible for her to recover quite quickly to get her health back, and she was able to go running again and all the things with no lasting side effects of the injury.
That's amazing. And she's still like in good health to this day.
But she just wanted to make sure she wasn't overweight. And so she started eating healthier. I think she also found out right about that same time that she had some like thyroid issues, and she wanted to take a natural approach to healing from these things.
Instead of like prescriptions that she'd be on for the rest of her life.
Exactly. And so she started learning about eat different foods that are beneficial or negative for the body based on different blood types. So if I'm type A or type B, I need to eat this type of food. And if I'm type O, I need to avoid that type of food. So everybody's body is different in that way. And so it really started her on this journey, this path of like understanding the body and how it works and how eating and dieting changes you. And she was able to overcome her thyroid issues strictly through dieting and eating healthier, through natural ways. And it really inspired me as a kid, like, wow, like I didn't know that was possible. Like, this is so cool. And it kind of created that foundation of like, this is why you eat healthy. And so all the food in our fridge, all the food in our pantry changed from what I was used to my whole life to being...
What age were you, do you think?
Oh, probably 13, okay. 14-ish. And now it was like all organic, all natural, all super healthy. Instead of getting like
spelt
white
flour.
Bread or even wheat bread, we would get like Ezekiel bread or spelt flour bread. And it was like super healthy. And so because of this, okay, I still like my junk food because that's what I had all grown up with. And so I remember, I think that's why I stayed so skinny for so long.
He was a very tall, skinny, lanky child.
I would go into the kitchen because I was starving, and I would look down all the shelves in the pantry, disappointed. And then I'd go to the refrigerator, and I'd look down, up and down, sad. And
I had the exact same problem.
I'd go back to the pantry and look up and down, like lowering my standards.
At least when I had to make my own food, that's what I was... Yeah.
To the point where I was like, okay, my standards are so low now. I will literally eat anything because I'm starving and I'm not satisfied with anything that I'm finding. And so I'm just like, whatever, I'll just grab this thing and I'll put this on it and hopefully that'll satisfy me till my next meal. The blessed day finally came where I got my driver's license and I started doing a lot of the shopping for the family because my mom didn't have the time or she didn't want to go to the grocery store. So here's Michael, here's the shopping list, go get groceries. And that gave me a little bit of creative freedom.
You're like, hey,
to
I'll
buy
get groceries.
some stuff that I wanted to buy.
Groceries.
So I would petition to get a little bit more reasonable food.
This is more reasonable.
And I do remember for years, there was a long time where all my mom wanted to make for dinner was like vegetable stew because she was trying to eat healthy. And I was like, I hate vegetable stew. And so she's like, well, fine then. If you don't want vegetable stew, you can make dinner. So I spent a lot of time in my teenage years making the family dinner for all the family because it was either that or vegetable stew.
So what did you make?
Lasagna, pizza, macaroni. It got really good at making macaroni and cheese. Like, you'll never find anyone better at making macaroni and cheese than me.
Oh, wow. Your siblings might beg to differ.
We would have contests amongst my siblings.
You know what? I bet they would say, let's all agree that Michael makes the best so that he does it every time and we don't have to anymore.
We would make macaroni and cheese and everybody would be like, okay, scale of 1 to 10. How was that one? Oh, that was an 8. That was a 9. Oh, that one was too soggy. Oh, that one was perfect. Perfect 10, you know, like. And so I got to the point where it was almost every single time a perfect 10. And I will honestly say I make better macaroni and cheese than your family does.
Oh, you're probably right. You know what? I had a different experience with macaroni and cheese when I was a teenager. Like, my mom had always made it just like... Actually, there was some times, and it probably wasn't my mom, to be honest. It was probably one of the older kids that was making mac and cheese for everybody. But like where there's still giant clumps of cheese, and you're kind of like, whoa, that's really strong, you know?
That's a sin.
Or powder. But when I was a teenager, I went over to my friend's house, who was actually my boyfriend's sister. And she made macaroni and cheese, and she put lots of extra milk in it. And it was almost like milk and cereal. And I loved it. And you haven't even tried it, so you don't even know. So
Oh, trust me. I've
judging.
put too much milk in macaroni and cheese before.
I love it. I was like, it reminded me of like eating. Stop! Don't watch the YouTube video because then you'll see Michael what he's doing. Just kidding, you can. But it reminded me of like ramen noodles or something where it's like a little bit more soupy, but you still get the noodles and stuff. And I still like it. It's like a different thing. It's like not the same as regular mac and cheese, and I can crave it and not crave the other. You know what I mean? Like, I really like it. So I started doing that when we were married. He's like, this is like a 2. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm reading your mac and cheese and it's horrible. I'm like, well, I did that on purpose because I like it that way. He's like, what? Yeah, anyways. Lots of debates on food. And that's the craziest part is like, yes, Michael was like, oh, I want to get donuts. I want to get this. I want to get that. But at the same time, he picked up so many healthy, like,
You
habits.
never, ever bought soda. Ever.
Yeah. And we did.
and
We
we-
bought it. It
we
wasn't,
never-
nobody was addicted in my family. It was never something that everybody was like, hey, listen, when I was a kid, nobody was addicted. All right. Like, nobody was addicted
I
to
could
it.
quit anytime.
But we would buy it for like, I remember like picnics or like barbecues. And it was like a thing that we would just kind of have. I was never addicted to it. Most of my family would just have a little drink every now and then. It wasn't a big deal. And I especially was like, root beer floats. I love that. Like, you know, there's certain things I just absolutely love.
I think one of the most unhealthy things
But
that
I
my
didn't
family
have all the
never
time.
stopped buying was ice cream. We would get the big like gallon jug of like Neapolitan or cookies and cream was always our family's go-to.
Mm-hmm.
We always had a ton of ice cream. And I do remember many times being hungry for lunch, not finding anything good, going in the freezer, taking a big scoop of
Wow.
ice cream and eating that for lunch.
When you're desperate. That's what it is. You were
I
desperate.
did that.
So when we got married, wait, actually I want to say something else. Remind me to tell you about root beer. Okay. Once we're married. Anyways, when I was a kid, there was a point where we were really poor and like we did not have very much at all. And I remember it was everything was you had to make from scratch. Like you had to pull out the flour, you had to pull out the potatoes, you had to pull out everything and like chop it up and do all that. And I was doing a lot of extracurricular activities outside of school, and I was busy at school most of the day, and then I'd come home and have to do chores and homework, and I was like, I just can't cook extra things. And so potatoes were always very, very cheap, and we always had potatoes. And most of the time we wouldn't have like when we got home from school, there was not like a meal or anything ready for us. It was like we would have dinner and it would usually be late at night, and like usually my mom would make it, or she would put one of us kids in charge of it to make it. But I was always starving when I got home from high school. High school, they do not feed you enough. That's what my opinion was that I just did not get enough food.
Couldn't you just put some chips in your backpack and cookies and snacks? And like,
No, my mom was relying. She was relying on us to eat at school. Like,
but I'm saying, could you have done that, or would you have gotten in trouble?
I probably would have gotten in trouble.
Okay.
In fact, I think I did. So I know that was something I wasn't supposed to do.
Got it. That's all I want
So
to
I
know.
never did that.
I
But-
wasn't in high school, public school, so I don't know the rules.
And if I ever did, it was something that I bought myself and I had to do. You know, like if I went to work and had earned my own money to do it. But like she was relying on that. So like if I was really super hungry when I got home from school, usually, okay, so we were told eat breakfast at school and lunch at school. Well, I never got there on time, so I almost never had the chance to eat breakfast at school. So I already missed one meal. And then lunch, I've always felt like they never gave us enough.
You wouldn't eat breakfast at home?
No.
You would go to school without having eaten any food,
Yeah.
knowing full well that you would not be eating until lunch.
Yes.
That's on you.
Well, I also felt nauseous every morning. I don't know why.
So did I.
Good for you.
When I got up for public
Just kidding.
school and I was in 3rd and 4th
Yeah.
grade, I would feel sick
So
every morning. But I
didn't
would like
eat.
force myself to eat.
That's some self-control I didn't have because I was not able. I couldn't do it. Like I was so sick that it was weird. I had to like get out of the nauseous part, and then I would be like, okay, now I'm hungry after a few hours. Yeah. And then it would be lunchtime, and I'd eat as much as I wanted or as much as I could. And usually, if anybody was ever like, hey, anybody want my sandwich? I'd be like, yes, I want your sandwich. I want your extra piece of pizza. I want this. You know, like I would just, or I would, sometimes they would have extras and I would go up and get more. But anytime I got home, I was starving. The only things that I remember making consistently were baked potatoes that I would just make myself. And every time I made them really good and everybody wanted one. And I was like, everybody was potatoes. Like, oh, you make that look so good. And I was like, well, go make one yourself. And the other thing was a bowl of mixed vegetables. My mom always had those in the freezer for my dad because he was actually malnourished as a kid and started having grand mal seizures. And so he had to if he ever starts feeling a little bit seizure-ish, then he will eat some vegetables and it helps him to like stave off. What is it? Stave off?
Stave it off.
Yeah, stave off a seizure. Anyways, so it was mixed vegetables and baked potatoes whenever I got home from school. I remember that my junior and senior year in high school.
My go-to is always milk and cereal.
Milk and cereal. And what kind of healthy cereal did you eat? Or did you not?
Bran Flakes, Cheerios.
Would your mom get mad if you got cereal that was sugar cereal? They call it sugar cereal.
If it had sugar in it? Yeah, we didn't buy that. Yeah.
That was a big difference in my family, too. All the cereal we had, all of it was sugar cereal. And all the cereal he had in his family was healthy cereal.
Like toasted oats with rolled oats is basically the knockoff of Cheerios.
Yep.
Knockoff of Bran Flakes. Knockoff of Corn Flakes.
Raisin Bran.
Not Raisin Bran.
You didn't get Raisin Bran?
No, because it was
Sugary?
full of sugar and too expensive. We just didn't buy it.
Wow.
My parents had a way of doing things. That's the only kind we buy now. The only time I got anything that was unhealthy
was if you bought it yourself.
Was if I bought it myself with my own money.
Yeah.
And then I would have a secret stash. Did you ever like
buy stuff and get in trouble for buying that?
Yes.
All the time?
Not all the time, but yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, my parents would be like, "Why did you buy that? I've never bought that. Where did you learn to buy that?" kind of attitude. So, yeah, I'd get in trouble if I bought anything that was not the norm, you know.
Yeah. And if I don't think I ever really remember doing shopping for my mom. I went shopping with my mom, but
I think sometimes when I would do the shopping though, I would buy something for myself and it never made it home.
Yeah. You're like, what is this on the receipt?
Yeah, because I had a credit card. It was in my name, but it was on my parents' out of my parents' account. Yeah. And so I was allowed to use that, you know.
Which is a very smart thing, by the way, because I had no credit. He had really good credit because his dad had put his name on his credit card, on his dad's credit card, and been paying the bill every month. So it built up Michael's credit really high. So we were able to like do some things that we needed to when we were first married. It was very helpful.
Yeah.
With having a credit score. So then we get married, and I think the biggest two things that we have fought about or disagreed about in our marriage are...
I think I know one of them.
What?
Soda?
No.
Oh.
Sorry. Food. Just food.
Oh.
Food and homeschool. Food and schooling for our kids have been the two things.
We've mostly agreed with food things.
Not at first.
And that's what I was saying. Soda was one of the things that I was like, don't buy soda.
So here I am, pregnant, miserable. The only thing I was craving when I went to the store, I was puking every single day, multiple times a day. I couldn't keep anything down. And I see this big picture of beer. And I was like, that looks so good. Everything else in the store looked bad. I'd never tried beer in my whole life, and I wasn't going to then. So I was like, and I still haven't, but I was like, I want that. And the closest thing I could even imagine in my brain of it tasting like is root beer. So I brought home root beer, this big old 2-liter thing of root beer, and Michael absolutely lost it. He was so mad at me.
Perception versus reality.
But you said we were fighting about it. It was definitely a fight for us. So in a
We
fight
might
for
have
us,
disagreed, but it wasn't like I absolutely lost it. I was
You
throwing
lost.
chairs out the window. I was screaming. I was shooting my gun at the ceiling.
that's exactly what happened.
I punched you in the face and in your pregnant
So
stomach.
when I say he lost it, he disagreed very strongly with me. And I was like,
He disagreed with me.
yeah, and I was
How
very offended by
rude.
that. I was very offended by that. I'm still defending my old self right now because I support my old self. In that moment, I was just like, I was blown away that he was so against it. And I was just like, I need this to survive right now. And he just was like, it's so bad for you. It is so bad for you. And people are so addicted to it. You should never drink that. And I was just
True.
like, and he was just going on and on about how bad it was and how I spent our money on it and how,
Shame on you.
I'm about ready to punch you in the lap. Give you a... Just kidding.
And I'm the one who's freaking out.
So this is me, right? I eventually was like, okay, fine. If you're so upset about it, I'm not going to buy soda pop anymore. And especially when we were first married, I was I just wanted to keep living the way that I had been, especially with food. And it was causing lots of drama because...
I think you were actively trying to eat more unhealthy because you were finally an adult and you had the money to buy your own food and eat the things that you were never allowed to eat as a kid.
I was an adult and in college for a year before that, and you just didn't live with me to tell me what I could and couldn't eat. Oh.
Yeah, and your freezer was full of chocolate and ice cream and cookie dough and all sorts of junk food.
No.
Yeah.
Why? Did you eat it?
Nope, but I looked.
Yes, you did. Don't you lie to me. You did eat that junk food. The thing is, the most interesting thing about what Michael gets mad about is he gets mad at me for getting these things and then he eats it.
Well, that's why it's bad. Because I'm like, well, now I have to eat it, and I didn't want to buy
And
this.
I'm like, Michael, use some self-control. I bought it for me.
I have self-control at the grocery store before I buy it.
No.
And that's why I don't buy it.
But then if it's home, you're like, I have to eat it. I'm like, no, you don't.
Can't
You're
waste
choosing.
it.
You are
Can't waste
choosing to eat those things. And it's like, it's always been that way. Especially the biggest example of that is anytime we eat out fast food, I get French fries because I like them.
They're bad for you.
And I'm going to eat them. And I've decided to make that choice, even if they're bad for me, right? That's just my side of the story. And I always buy them. I would always buy them. And I'd say, Michael, do you want some French fries? And he'd say, no, they're bad for you. And I was like, okay, order me some French fries and make it a small or a medium or whatever. Make it a small. And he's like, okay. So he orders it and then he eats half of my French fries. And I'm like, are you seriously?
I'm doing you a favor.
Are you kidding me right now? And he's like, I'm saving you. I'm like, no, those are my French fries. I'm like, okay, I don't care what you say. I've learned if I'm ordering French fries, I have to get a large or a medium. And I have to do that or else it will mostly go to him. Even though he's like, they're so bad for you. Are you feeling attacked right now?
I'm attacked right now. You are attacking me.
I'm just saying, don't eat my French fries or you'll get attacked. So
You
anyways,
think I absolutely lost it when you eat.
well, I will lose it, and
You are losing it.
I'm losing it right now. I'm defending all the times you ever stole my French fries, and you wouldn't go back to get more from me. I'm like,
Shame
really,
on me.
really.
Really? What a terrible
So
thing.
now I just have to get large French fries every single
I
time,
have to.
or else you'll eat all my French fries.
I will. It's true.
So even now, he will blame me if it's in the house for him eating it,
Yeah,
even though he's the one that eats it.
it's true.
You guys, I need you to pick a side. You're going to have to pick a side in the comments below on YouTube. Whose side are you on? The person who is mad that I buy it and then he says he can't not eat it? Or my side, which is I just want to be able to eat what I want, and you can choose whatever you want, but I want to be able to choose what I want. Otherwise, it just takes away my whole agency, and I can't even do whatever I want.
So you weren't always evil with your eating habits.
Evil?
Because you've gone through a transformation with
Michael! Correct it. It's not evil.
Sinful.
Michael!
Wicked.
Do you see what I have to put up with? Oh my goodness.
Eventually you saw the light. And
this is what happened.
You repented of your horrible, wicked ways.
This is what happened. So when we first married, he was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, I'm just doing what I've always done. Lay off me. I'm starving. And then you're like...
Lay off me. I'm starving.
And then you're like, that's so bad. And then we got food stamps because we had the money for food stamps. And then...
Hot Pockets.
Michael goes down the freezer aisle and literally buys anything and everything he's always wanted in his entire life.
Yes, sugar cereal,
Yep.
Hot Pockets, all the frivolous junk
So
food.
bad food.
And I gained a lot of weight.
Yeah. And then
I stopped doing that.
Well,
And
yeah.
it's expensive.
Well, we stopped after, I think, food stamps were done. And when I started getting healthy. So it was like, after a while, I was like, you know what? So we both kind of relaxed about a lot of things. Not soda pop. That's still forbidden.
Still, good. It's a good thing. And you agree.
And I do agree now. At the time, I did not agree. I was like,
thank you very much.
No, I need my root beer. And if I was pregnant right now, I would probably not agree with you still. Because sometimes a pregnant lady's just got to have her root beer. So no judging.
You never bought soda when you were pregnant with Max.
Oh, but I bought all sorts of other junk food. I lived off of toffee from Palm Springs. Anyways, so then he starts getting more relaxed, and I start getting more relaxed, and it's after we had Ellie, and I was starting to like not be able to lose the weight, and it was just kind of stuck on me, and I was really frustrated with it, and I couldn't chase my 4-year-old and 2-year-old and have a newborn. I couldn't keep up with them. So I was like, okay, I think it's time for me to do something about this. And luckily I had learned so much from you and like the different things you had said about, what's healthy and what's not, because honestly, I didn't know. At my house, that wasn't like taught or even looked up. In fact, it was almost ignored because there were some in my family who were unhealthier than others. And like, if we brought it up, it was kind of like an attack on them. And so it was avoided. So as to not hurt anybody's feelings. So anyways, that was something that we just didn't really talk about. So when I got married to Michael and it was talked about all the time with like every meal, I was like, whoa, it was just such a drastic change. But then when I couldn't lose the weight, I was like, okay, I think it's time to start learning more about this. And I did. I started like just sucking in all the information that had to do with being healthy. And it's almost like at that point we switched places, because then I was like, what are you eating? Why are you doing that? And he's like, I'm just eating a donut. Lay off me. I'm starving. And then I got really super fit and healthy, and Michael was not at that point, but started to like, just because I feel like when a mom makes the decision, it changes the whole family, like it starts to make those changes that.
Why? Because you buy different food at the store, and thus the family eats different food at home.
Yep.
Therefore, if you buy junk food.
But you can also buy the food, just saying.
Eat junk food.
And if you go to the store with me, then
I tell you not to buy junk food so that I don't have to eat it when it comes home.
Yeah, his decision. This is his decision-making process. Don't buy it in the store, but if you buy it, I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to regret it. But I don't care, because I have no self-control at home, only at the store.
Are you having fun?
I'm just saying how it is. Is it right? Say yes, or the people on the podcast can't hear you. He's like, I'm in denial.
It's accurate,
twisted. No!
exaggerated
Are you kidding
truth.
me? Michael! Okay, let's hear your side of it then.
Don't buy junk food because I don't want to have to eat it when it
See?
comes home.
It's not twisted. That's exactly what I just said.
You're all like,
it's twisted,
Michael says, I
exaggerated.
have no agency.
Blah, blah, blah.
I can't make good choices.
Once it's at home.
So don't buy it.
See?
Listen,
That's
you're
exactly
the one
what I
who just
said.
said when the mom changes her diet, the whole family eats healthier.
Only
You
because
said that.
And you said it's because I'm the one that buys stuff. It's because I'm the one that cooks stuff.
Right. So there you go.
And if I don't cook stuff, then you do get all the freezer food and stick it in the freezer and eat that.
It's what I'm used to.
But you went to the store and you bought it.
I know.
Okay.
Because
so
I don't
anyways.
have the time or the gumption to try to make homemade
the
scratch
gumption.
healthy food.
You have
all
the
the time.
time. You could make the time.
No, I don't.
You could make the time.
No, I don't. I work way too much.
You also have set aside time at night to play that could be for that. So it's all about priorities, really.
That's true. And I'm not going to take away my fun time at the end of the day
So that's your
to make
choice.
healthy food. Because then I'll literally be miserable.
So that's your choice. I'm
It
just
is-
saying.
It is my choice.
So you choose not to make healthy food
That's right.
because your priorities are elsewhere.
That's true.
Okay. We have it in writing, folks.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Well, it has been really interesting because not only has he so his example, yes, he has his weaknesses and there's things that he has all the time that he eats that he really likes that are like, this is my treat. Like cereal. You love cereal.
Yep. But I don't buy junk cereal.
Well, yeah, you do. It's just healthier junk cereal. Like Special K.
I very rarely buy that.
But it's still your crutch or your weakness every now and then. That's
Most
all
of
I'm
the
saying.
time I have...
Fine, you don't have any weaknesses. Do you feel better?
It's not accurate. But I do feel better. Good times. This will be a treasured moment.
It will.
A treasured episode.
You see how we're talking right now? This is probably how much he flipped out when we were first married and I was pregnant and I was like, what are you so... No, it
This
was
is
more
me
than that. It was.
losing it. No, I
It
was
was more than that.
I was frustrated and I
Yeah.
probably chewed you out
Yeah.
because you needed it. Yep.
You don't chew out a pregnant lady for buying root beer. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
My
Mike,
bad.
Drop. Just kidding.
Well, I think that we're in a pretty good place right now where we mostly see eye to eye. You were buying healthier food. You were
I
making
think-
healthier food.
I think at this point, I have surpassed you.
You think you eat healthier than
Agree
me
or disagree?
in general?
Uh-huh.
Agreed.
Agree. Thank you very much. Applaud. Okay, now we can end this episode. Goodbye, everybody.
But in your eating healthier, my plea to you is to stop buying unhealthy things like chips. And if you're going to make something healthy for yourself, make a little extra for me too.
And,
so that
and
I
then you
can
don't have to work
also
at
be
all for
healthier.
your own health.
That's
and I have to
the
do
goal.
all of it.
Correct.
And then it's my fault if you're not healthy, which I'm
Yes.
not okay with that, by the way. It's not my choice to make you healthy or unhealthy. That's your choice. And you're going to have to take you're going to have to take responsibility for it because I can't make you.
You can make me food
No.
while you're making food. And then we can both be healthier together.
How about you do that for me instead?
Because I'm working too much.
No, it's all about priorities. We already established that.
How many times do
This is our fighting.
you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I can't even get out of bed. Help. I need food.
That's like maybe once a month. Maybe.
And you're like,
You know that. Is it once a
make
month?
me a special shake. And I have to make this like egg whites with protein powder and frozen strawberries.
Which, by the way,
and I blend
you
it
learn
up.
how to do it.
And
now
I
you
came
can do
and
it
I
for
make
yourself.
it for you. I'm not comfortable drinking raw egg whites.
They're pasteurized, Michael.
It's terrifying to
No,
me.
it's pasteurized. That means it's cooked enough
Nevertheless,
that it doesn't have.
it's not cooked at all.
Yeah,
That's not what pasteurized means.
Look it up. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's prove it
All
right now.
Is
We're in
it
a fighting
safe to
mood.
drink pasteurized egg whites?
Do 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 do
And I have the answer. Yes, absolutely, but you want to make sure that you have high quality pasteurized egg whites.
Told you. And that's the only kind I buy.
Wow.
See? Michael, the thing is,
I learned something today.
I don't think you realize just how much it's changed me, because at least half of my Instagram that I follow are like health people.
Then why am I so much healthier than you?
Because I've had 5 kids and you didn't have to birth them.
That's true.
Thank you very much.
So that's your crutch then?
Yes, it is. And it's a legitimate one. Because
Okay.
all my health problems I wouldn't have if it weren't for them. And I'm serious about that. Every single one of them.
All my health problems I wouldn't have if you made me healthy food. So it's all your fault.
It's all your fault. I'm not going to take responsibility for your life. You're an adult.
I'm just kidding.
Act like one.
I know. But
Drink water. It's healthy for you.
I do make you healthy food sometimes. So
For some reason, I absolutely love this episode. I'll probably want to rewatch it.
well,
This sums up our relationship when it comes to food. I used to be very different than him. He used to be very different than me. Then we became the same with unhealthy food. And then I decided to do something about it. And then he wanted me to do something about it for him too. But I didn't want to because that's too much work.
selfish.
Yep. Because I have to have the babies and he doesn't.
Do you want me to die?
Michael, don't you do that to me. Put your lights out. Yes, I do right now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
It's a good thing you're cute.
It's a good thing you don't want me to. Yeah, okay. Thank you for saying I'm cute.
I hope you guys learned something today. I did.
You can drink pasteurized eggs.
Egg whites.
That's right.
Well, hopefully I
Do you feel
will
defensive?
eat healthier. No, it's just the truth.
You're doing this right now.
It's because I'm trying.
Your body language is saying, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Here's the thing. I've got my arms crossed because I'm looking at myself in the camera viewfinder. And when my arms are like this, I look fat. And I'm like, man, I look like a big blob just sitting on this couch. Like, I'm just like, blah. And so when I do this, then now I look
Yeah,
skinny.
you look and strong.
Aha. So that's why.
That is so funny.
I'm
Oh
not
my
fat,
goodness.
okay? I am the heaviest I've ever been in my life, though.
Yeah, but you're not.
Mostly
Well, he's also
muscle.
very, very tall. So, like, whatever weight he is, if it was on a short man, he would be very fat.
Obese.
Yeah, but
Well,
that's okay. I
Strength.
still love you. Honestly, if you were short and fat, or if you're tall and skinny, or tall and regular size, which is what I think you are, then I'll love you either way, no matter what.
Thanks.
But I do like how tall you are, so don't chop off your legs or anything.
I'll try not.
Okay.
But if I get diabetes from you and I have to amputate my
Not from
feet
me. I'm the healthy one now, remember?
from not making me healthy food,
You make it
and
yourself.
you buy junk food at the store.
Be a responsible
This is
adult.
true. Hey, if I have to take accountability for the fact that I'm not eating as healthy as you, you have to take accountability for the fact that you buy more junk food at the store than I do.
I don't know if that's true anymore.
Who buys potato chips? You.
To give to other people when we're
To
doing
poison our children.
I don't buy them just for our family to eat them. It's always for a family gathering or a gathering with
Don't
friends.
buy them anymore. Do we agree?
No.
Why? You like buying junk
Why?
food?
Because it's a very inexpensive way to add to a meal. That's why. What do you want me to buy instead? Something that I have to cook? Because that's
no.
not what I'm going to do.
A watermelon, a cantaloupe.
That's what I also buy.
I know, but only buy that.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I love you anyway.
Well, you're just going to have to love me, chips and all.
I do.
Okay. And also, you brought up a really good point that I also buy watermelon and cantaloupe. I'm not only buying chips. If I was only buying chips, you would definitely have an argument because we're just going to eat all the bag of chips. But if it's something to add to all of the other already healthy food, I'm okay with that. That's where we're different.
Okay. Thanks for watching Beach Theory today, guys. I am thoroughly defeated.
Yes! I win! Make your own food, and I'm buying chips. And get your own French fries.
We'll see you guys next week.